Hi, and welcome to Our Weekly Craft, a source for ideas, inspiration, and fun for crafters. I'm Sarah White, Chief Maker at ourdailycraft.com, and this week I want to talk to you about the 100-day project. But first, let's talk about this sweater. Em's wearing the same stuff she was wearing last week because, I don't know, it's been that kind of a week. But I am wearing the Consider This My Olive Branch sweater by Charisma Henderson. She is on Instagram as The Shit I Knit. Shit like Schitt's Creek, because this is a David Rose inspired sweater. The one in the show is leather, but it's nicer as a nice knit version. This was my first ever DK weight sweater, so it's kind of a finer weight yarn. If you're not a knitter, it's a lighter weight than I'm usually do, so it took a long time. It's black yarn, which if you're a knitter or a crocheter, you know that even on simple stuff, black yarn is just a different level of like focus that it requires because it's hard to see your stitches. This was also my first test knit, which I did a few months ago, and it was a lot of fun and kind of got me into wanting to do test knitting and test crocheting as a fun way to help other designers and also to get access to fun new patterns while I am not buying more patterns and yarn, as I talked about last week. Speaking of that, what I've got in my hand is actually also a test. This is actually crochet, even though it looks kind of knit, right? It looks like knitting, but it's crochet. And I will be able to share a little bit more about that when the pattern is released, which I think will be by the time I talk to you next week. So, but it's a lot of fun. I can't work on it while I'm talking to you because I can knit without looking, but I can't crochet without looking because I'm not that skilled yet at my crochet. But that does bring me to what I wanted to talk about this week, which is the 100-day project. If you know anything about me and my work as a creative person, I knit and I crochet and I sew and I share craft ideas and all of those things, but really at the core, what my purpose is, what I feel like all of that is for, is to inspire people to make creativity a daily practice for themselves. That's why my blog's called Our Daily Craft. And so anything that can inspire people to do even just a little tiny thing every day, that's what I want for people, because I know that while it's great to like take an hour every weekend and work on a painting or, you know, get into the woodworking shed or whatever and do big projects and dedicated time that's rare, is still valuable, but you get the real important value of crafting whatever it is your preferred style methods are. You really get that benefit from daily practice. And it doesn't have to be a big thing, you know, it can be 5 minutes a day. It can be just a little bit, one row of knitting or doing a doodle or, you know, whatever little progress you can make. But I'm all about incremental progress, and the way to feel that is a day building on a day, building on a day. And over time, you create this thing or this series of things that if you hadn't taken that little bit of time every day, you wouldn't have. And so like in the day, it might not feel that valuable that, oh, I just did, you know, 20 cross stitches or whatever little thing that you have time for that day. But when you look back over a week or a month or a year of that daily practice, you've created real things and real progress, both in whatever creative skill you use and just in like absorbing the benefits of creativity and having a creative practice. So that's like my whole thing in life, is to encourage people to do that. And of course, to do it for myself. So, you know, I am not always practicing what I preach, as they say. In fact, yesterday, I don't think I did anything. I didn't pick up a hook or a needle or 2 needles for that matter. Oh, I did do a little tiny bit of crafting, but I was making origami fabric hearts, but that was, I cut squares and then ironed and folded fabric. So it was maybe 5 minutes again, if, you know, but I didn't feel like I did anything big or anything at all. And there are definitely days like that even for me. And so it's valuable for me, as it is for anybody else, to take a step back and make a conscious effort to do something. And so that's where the 100-day project comes in for me. These have been going on for several years now, and I've done it. I think this will be my 4th year, and I've never successfully completed a 100-day project, but I still think that it's valuable as a practice. I did little poems one year, which I talked about last week, that I'm now doing as a daily thing for the whole year. And so far so good on that, 6 weeks into the year, however far we are. I've managed to do that every day. One year I did hand lettering, and I think I made it maybe a month. And then last year I did sewing for daily, and I made it for 50 days. So I'm hoping that maybe this year I'll make it, 75, maybe 100, hopefully 100, doing a little bit of crochet every day. And so the one thing that's cool about the 100-day project, one, you get to pick what your project is. So it can be sewing or crochet or knitting or drawing or writing little poems, doing little collages, whatever thing that you want to focus on. But also you get to pick what counts. So, it might be time. You might say, okay, I'm going to work on this project for 10 minutes a day, every day for 100 days. Or it might be, any progress at all counts. So when I started doing the sewing, I was writing about it. And so I wanted to have something worth writing about every day. So I was like, I'm going to try and do a project every day, do some little thing that I can do start to finish in a day. Now, obviously, there are things that I wanted to do that I couldn't finish in a day. Like I made a sweatshirt. I made that cardigan that I showed you last week. So there were some bigger projects I was working on, a duvet cover that I've been working on for 20 years, which is a whole another story. But anyway, so there were things that couldn't be done in a day, but I would try, to make good progress on things every day. Like, so there was something I could say, this is what I worked on, this is what happened. By the end, it was kind of like, okay, if I cut out a pattern, that counts. If I, am ironing some stuff, that counts. Anything, if I sew a single seam, that counts. And that's really the better way to approach it, is just like any effort made in progress, in service to whatever kind of project you're working on, should count. Because some days just aren't big progress days, and some days are, and that's fine, and that's life, and it's 100 days, and there's still a lot that can be done in 100 days, even if not every day is your pinnacle of what you would like it to be. So that's what I'm trying to go into my 100 days of crochet without a lot of expectations for what I want it to look like. But I mean, there are easy things that could be the daily thing that counts. With crochet, it's easy. You could do a different granny square every day, or you could do a swatch of a different stitch pattern every day, or something like that. I don't think that that's going to be my thing, because I also want to do projects, and I feel like I'd spend all my time doing little samplers, which is not bad, because that could be a project in itself, that make a blanket at the end, which would be really cool. But I really had as a goal this year that I wanted to crochet a sweater, because I've never done one before. And so there are probably some other projects like that that I can think of and be like, okay, so these are the, 5 or 6 projects maybe. And that's a lot, because I'm also knitting and doing the other things. But, maybe here's a handful of projects that I would like to explore during this time. And I have a crochet project I'm already working on. This one should be done by then, but I have that shawl poncho thing that I talked about. I don't think I've still shown you, because I stopped working on it for all the test projects I was working on, but when I get back to it in my 100 days of crochet, I will show you that. But most of the things that I've crocheted are rectangles. And this is not a rectangle, but it's in the round, and so it's easy. There's no shaping or anything. So I still consider it pretty basic in terms of skill level. And so that's really the point of it for me, is to do consistent practice and to be able to improve my skills, because I feel like, you know, I wouldn't say I know, obviously nobody knows everything there is to know about knitting, but I'm comfortable with pretty much any knitting technique you could throw at me. You know, if I haven't done it before, I'm confident in my ability to figure it out. And I do not feel that way about crochet at all. I feel like, you know, that I've been crocheting for years, but I would still call myself not much better than a beginner, because I just haven't taken the time to consistently work at it and to make projects and to try new things and all of that. And so that is what these 100 days will be for me. So that will be a thing in future videos for the next few months, that I'll be talking about my progress with 100 Day Project. And if you want to check it out, it is, I'll put in a link in the notes too, but it's the100dayproject.org is the website. You can sign up in their newsletters, and they're also on Instagram and Facebook and all the places. If you like that community aspect of it, I've never really participated in those parts of it, but maybe I should, because maybe if I felt like other people were watching what I was doing, that it would encourage me to continue when I decide to just be like, no, I can't do it today, and then a day becomes a week, and then I've given up on my project. I mean, and that's the thing too, right, is that even though it's a 100-day project, maybe you don't do it in 100 days, or maybe, you know, and maybe 50 days is good for you, you know, that you still learn something from that, even if you never complete 100 days, or you don't do 100 days in a row, it's still valuable. And so I think that that's really cool and important for creative people, to develop that consistent practice, even if it's not daily. So I encourage you to check it out if you don't already know about 100 Day Project. And if you decide that you want to do one, I would love to hear about it in the comments, and so we can share what we're working on with each other. And I'm sure I'll share on Instagram. I'm Our Daily Craft over there, if you want to see what I'm up to beyond these videos. So that's 100 Day Project. I don't have a lot else to report in terms of viewing and reading. We finished Wheel of Time, which was interesting. It's fantasy. It's, you know, fantasy. In a good way. I enjoyed it, but I haven't read any of the books, so I don't know how faithful it is to the story, or what people who, you know, went into it, invested, felt about it. But I found it enjoyable for knitting and crocheting too. Except there was a brief part with subtitles and I went, I can't crochet and read at the same time. So I picked the wrong project for that day, but it was fine. And it was brief. I finally finished my 30 days of yoga yesterday, so I was 8 days behind, I think 8 days behind schedule finishing it, but that's done. So my normal exercise is riding the stationary bike, and I like to watch TV in general, but documentaries in particular while I'm doing that. So I'm in the midst of a Ruth Bader Ginsburg documentary called RBG, appropriately enough, which is really interesting to me because a lot of it focused, that I've watched so far anyway, a lot of it focused on like her early life, her early life in law, not really her childhood so much, but the arguments that she made before the Supreme Court and the cases she was interested in before she became a judge and then a justice. And so that part, I feel like a lot of people don't know that history about her, and how her whole career was really built on supporting women as equal citizens, and the different ways that she used the law to make it so that America was more just for women, and that the law began to view equality of the genders as a civil rights issue. And so that was just really interesting to me, and I've enjoyed that. I've decided, kind of, because I don't have anything in mind to watch for that time, that I'm just going through what Netflix recommends for me, because I've watched a lot of documentaries, and I feel like Netflix used to tell you when you had already watched things, because I wish that it would do that. I accidentally started watching Becoming again, which I couldn't remember that I had watched until I started watching it. I was like, oh yeah, I did watch this, which is Michelle Obama, about her book of the same name, which is also worth watching, but maybe not twice. Reading, I am still in Les Miserables. I didn't actually read that much. I don't feel like I read that much of it in the last week. I started reading Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney, which I accidentally checked out because I thought that I read a book of hers last year that I enjoyed, but I didn't. It was just because Normal People was everywhere, and so I kind of felt I had her name in my head as somebody that I'd read and enjoyed, but I hadn't. And I kind of hate this book. Like, I can't stop reading it because it's annoying me so much. If 29-year-old single people really act like this in life, I am super glad that I was married by 29, because these people make me crazy. And I kind of can't stop reading it, except I think that I have the ebook, and I think it's due tomorrow, and it will disappear from my library if I don't finish it, and I am not going to be sad if I don't finish it. But I'm kind of enjoying, like, the hate reading of it, which is terrible and a waste of my time. But if I'm enjoying it, I guess it's not a waste, but it's just a funny way to spend your time. But here we are. So anyway, that's what I've been up to. I would love to hear what you've been up to in terms of creating and reading and watching and whatever you're doing. And again, if you check out the 100-Day Project, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Maybe you already have a consistent, solid daily practice and you feel like you're good. And I would love to hear about that too, because I kind of am jealous. I mean, I do something every day, but again, like the consistent, I feel like when we're learning a new thing, sometimes it's hard to put in that effort, be like, okay, I'm going to learn these skills, or I'm going to do these projects, because I'm already really comfortable with knitting. If I'm looking for a project, like if I want to make a sweater, I automatically think, well, I'm going to knit a sweater. I don't ever think I'd like to try to crochet a sweater. And so this is a way to consciously get myself to think, well, could I make that in crochet instead of knitting? Is there something more to learn? There's a lot more to learn. And I feel like that is really valuable. So if there's maybe a new skill that you've been, and that was the hand lettering one that I tried to do too, was like, I'm interested in hand lettering. I'm terrible at it. If I practice for 100 days, could I get better? And the answer was yes, even though I only did, maybe 30 days of it. Even with that little bit of focused, consistent practice, I could see improvement. And so I'm hopeful that that will be the case with crochet as well. And maybe I will be able to call myself an intermediate crocheter after 100 days. We'll see. I won't feel like a beginner anymore. So anyway, I think it's really valuable, and I hope that you will check it out and think about what you could do for yourself that might be a good 100-day project. And even if you don't do a 100-day project, just thinking about what could you do every day to help you build skills, or just to express your creativity in a simple way every day. Because even without the formal construct of the project, it's a really valuable thing to have that daily practice in your life. So if you already have that, I'd love to hear about it. If this encourages you to think about having that, I would love to hear about that too. And I hope that you have a great and crafty week. And I will see you next time.